Dear students, welcome to the class. In the last class, we are discussed about the lesson Aiding the Ashram. So, continue the lesson. Yesterday, last class, we are discussed the early life of Shantini Rabindranath Tagore and the life of C.F. Andrews. We are learned to both C.F. Andrews and Rabindranath Tagore's life stories. And one day, C.F. Andrews stayed in the Shantiniketan. So, the ashram. Shantiniketan ashramದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ದಿನ C.F. Andrews ಸ್ಟೇ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ ಆಶ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ C.F. Andrews ಸ್ಟೇ ಆದಾಗ ಸೊ ರಿವೀಲ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಓನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇ ಇನ್ ದ ಆಶ್ರಮದ ಸ್ಟೇ ಆಗಿದ್ದ ತನ್ನ ಓಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸನ್ನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಎ ಡೇ ಇನ್ ಆಶ್ರಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಲೆಸನ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗೆ ಆಲ್ ದ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ rises in early in the morning and the choristers go around the ashram singing their morning hymn and meet the another part of the ashram. All the boys come and join this group and start the meditation, and it is a sense of joy and reverence which it brings. Students, what next doing the Shantiniketan boys? Listen carefully, see your textbook, page number 3, third paragraph. After an interval, each boy takes his asan, his square of carpet into the fields and sits down and to meditate in his own place alone. Later on, before the school work begins, the boys all stand together in the shade of the trees and sing their hymn. Till about 10, the work of the school goes on. We have no classrooms. The boys sit with their teachers in the open air under the trees. There are no larger classes. A group of 8 or 10 boys are seated around the teacher, asking him questions. Very few books are used. A greater part is carried on through conversation. The boys soon learn to open up all their difficulties to their teachers, and the teachers get keenly interested in the boys' questions and answers. Such living education can never be done. When the morning work is over, the boys bath and go to their meal. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the classes begin again, but at this time, the work is chiefly with the hands as well as with the mind. Handiwork is practiced and the boys' own natural tastes are very soon discovered. Some prefer carpentry, others prefer mechanical work, others enjoy spinning and weaving, others become skilled draftsmen or painters, others are musicians. There is very little work in the afternoon. School is over at about 4 o'clock, and then there is a rush to get first into the great open fields for football. Our Shantiniketan boys are famous everywhere for their sports and games. In the evening at sunset, they return from the fields and sit down once more for a short time to meditate in silence. As night comes, fairy tales are told, short dramas are recited, our Gurudeva's songs are sung, and different school gatherings are held. By 9 o'clock, all are glad to retire to rest, and again the choristers go around the ashram singing their last evening hymn. There can be no questions as to the happiness of the life of our boys. Their faces tell the story of their joy and their freedom. There is no free life in India than the life of our children at Shantiniketan. After an interval, so when we complete the morning hymn, each boy takes his asan. So all the boys passes on to another part of the ashram and comes nearer. After an interval, each boy takes his asana. So all the boys, each boy takes his asana. ಅವರು ಕುಳಿತುಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಪ್ಲೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಟಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಟಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂರ್ತಾರೆ. Into the fields, all the boys sits in its own places into the fields and sits down to meditate. All the boys sit and started meditate in his own place alone. ಅವರದೇ ಆದಂಥ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಎ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಟ್. ಈಚ್ ಬಾಯ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಸನ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನ್ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಆ ಪೊಸಿಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಸನ್ is square of carpet or carpet. It takes sits in his own place alone. Later on, before the school work begins, later on before the school work begins, school work start ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲೇ before the school work begins, the boys all stand together in the shade of the trees. When they complete the meditation and before the school work begins, all the boys stand together in the shade of the trees. Bharata kelgade bandu, after the meditation, all the boys stand together in the shade of the trees. Shade. Then Bharata kelgade, so all the boys stand together in the shade of the trees and sing their hymn and start the and sing hymn. So in the last class I have been already told hymn means stotra. So sing a hymn. Till about 10:30 the work of the school goes on. Till about 10:30. What means 10:30? 10:30. The Shantiniketan school begins at 10:30 a.m. Till about 10:30, the work of the school goes on. So commence the school. We have no classrooms. The Shantiniketan boys told we have no classrooms. So we are all standard classroom, but the Shantiniketan boys, they have no classrooms. Avrige yavade classrooms illilla. We have no classrooms. The Shantiniketan boys told we have no classrooms. Namage ಶಾಲೆಗಳು ತರಗತಿಗಳು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ರೂಮ್ಸ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. The boys sit with their teachers. The boys sit with their teachers. Boys ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ sit with their teachers. ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ಸುತ್ತ so sits around the teachers in the open air under the trees. Open air under the trees. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲನೂ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ನೆನಪಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಗುರುಕುಲ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೆ ರಾಜರ ಕಾಲದ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆಶ್ರಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಆಶ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ಒಬ್ಬ ಋಷಿ ಗುರುವಿನ ಪಕ್ಕ ಸುತ್ತ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂತು ಮರದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ they have no classrooms. The boys sit with their teachers in the open air. ಪ್ರಶಾಂತವಾದಂಥ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ತಂಪಾದ ಗಾಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜೊತೆಗೆ in the open air under the trees. ಮರದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಕೂತು ಕಲಿತಾ ಇದ್ರು. There are no larger classes. ದೊಡ್ಡ ಎಲ್ಲ 30-40-50 ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. There are no larger classes. A group of 8 or 10 boys. A group of 8 or 10 boys. A group of 8 or 10 boys. 8 or 10 boys seated around the teacher. Seated around the teacher. 8 or 10 boys seated around the teacher. Only there are no larger classes. Only 8 or 10 boys seated around the teacher asking him questions. ಲೆಸನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಕಲಿಯೋದು, ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಸೋದು, ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಬರೆಯೋದು ಇದ್ಯಾವುದೂ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆಸ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್. ವೆರಿ ಫ್ಯೂ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಬುಕ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ. ಸೊ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ವೇದಗಳು, ಹಳೆಗನ್ನಡ, ಸೊ ಹೀಗೆ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ವೆರಿ ಫ್ಯೂ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಎ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಡ್ ಆನ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್. ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ based on conversation. The boys soon learn to open out all their difficulties to their teachers. The boys soon learn. A greater part is carried on through conversation. The whole learning is based on a conversation. Conversation ಮೂಲಕ. So boys asking a question, the teachers reply the answer and clarify all the students' doubts. So the boys soon learn to open out all their difficulties. So boys learn out all their difficulties to their teachers. ಏನು ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಟೀಚರ್ದ ಹೇಳಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ರು. and the teachers get keenly interested in the boys questions. ಹಾಗೆ ಟೀಚರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಕೀನ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್, ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ಸೊ ರಿಪ್ಲೈ ದ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್. Such living education can never be done. What a fantastic statement. Such living education can never be done. ನೋಡಿ, ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ can never be done. ಹೀಗೆ ಮುಕ್ತವಾದಂಥ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. Such living education can never be done. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ 2020-21 ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನೀತಿ ಕೂಡ ಸೊ ಟೈಪ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಟಿಪ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ದ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್, ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾರೋ, ಏನೇನ ಕಲಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಪಾಡ್ವಿಲಿ ಸೊ ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. It means some students like music, some students like carpentry, mechanical work, anyone. What would you like that? Selected the topic. So, continue the lesson. When the morning work is over, the boys bath and go to their meal. When the morning work is over, when morning class is completed, all the boys go to their bath. All the boys bath and go to their meal and go to eat the lunch. When the morning work is over, ಯಾವಾಗ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ all the boys go to bath and ready to eat a meal. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon classes begin again. Afternoon classes start at 2 o'clock. But at this time, the work is chiefly with the hands as well as with the mind. So afternoon class ಅಲ್ಲಿ the chiefly with the hands as well, ಕರಕುಶಲ ಕಲೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರೋ as well as with the mind. ಮೈಂಡ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಇಷ್ಟ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಒಂದು ಕಲೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ಡ್ on the boys' own natural taste are very soon discovered. ಆ ಮಗುಗೆ ಆ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ ಎನಿವನ್ ಸೊ ಯಾವ ಕಲೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟನೋ ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನು ಅವರು ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತು. Some boys prefer to carpentry. Some boys selected to carpentry work. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಂಟರಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಅಂದರೆ? Some boys selected the carpentry, others prefer mechanical work, others enjoy spinning and weaving. So mechanical work, spinning and weaving ಅಂದರೆ ನೇಯ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು, ನೂಲುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು, ಸೊ ಬಟ್ಟೆಯನ್ನು ತಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ಸ್ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆರ್ ಪೇಂಟರ್ಸ್, ಪೇಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮ್ಯೂಜಿಷಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ನು ಸಮ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಎ ಮ್ಯೂಜಿಷಿಯನ್ಸ್, ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ morning class, all the Shantiniketan boys go to bath and eat a lunch. About 2 o'clock start the afternoon classes. But in this class, work with the chiefly hands as well with his mind. Handiwork is practice. Handiwork is practice like carpentry, mechanical work, spinning and weaving, painters and magicians. There is a very little book work in afternoon. Afternoon classes also. So use a very little book work. School is over at about 4 o'clock. The school is over about 4 o'clock. 4 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ತರಗತಿಗಳು ಮುಕ್ತಾಯ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. The school is over at about 4 o'clock. The school complete. So 4 o'clock, and then there is a rush to get first into the great open fields for football. So Alinda, so all the boys rush into the goal, run into the great open fields. ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶಾಲವಾದಂಥ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು to play the football ಆಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ. Our Shantiniketan boys famous for everywhere for their sports and games. Our Shantiniketan boys famous for sports and games. So, what was like Shantiniketan boys? The Shantiniketan boys famous or likes sports and games. In the evening at sunset, they return home from the fields. They return from the fields and sit down once more. In the evening at sunset. At the time of sunset, Surya ಮುಳುಗುವಂಥ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ all the boys return from the fields. So field ಇಂದ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಆಗಿ and sit down once more. ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು, sit down once more for a short time. ಕಡಿಮೆ ಅವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ for a short time to meditate to silence. ನಿಶಬ್ದವಾಗಿ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. At a short time to meditate in silence. As a night comes, fairy tales are told. When the night comes, all Shantiniketan boys fairy tales are told. Fairy tales, ಶಿಣಿಯರ ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. Some boys recited a dramas. Some boys recited a drama. Our Gurudeva songs are sung. Some boys sing a Gurudeva songs. Gurudeva, Rabindranath Tagore's. And different schools gatherings are held. The whole day do different activities in the school of Shantiniketan. By 9 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, all are glad to return to rest. All are ready to go to rest. And again the choristers go around the ashram. And again all the choristers go around the ashram singing their last evening hymn. So morning, early rises of the morning, the choristers go around the ashram and sing a morning hymn. So in the after the 9 o'clock, the choristers again go around the ashram singing their evening hymn. So it means all boys to go to a rest. There can be no questions as to the happiness of the life of our boys. There can be no questions as to the happiness of the life of our Shantiniketan boys. Their faces tell a story of their joy and their freedom. Now, face is the index of mind. Face is the index of mind. ಮುಖವು ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಕನ್ನಡಿ ಇದ್ದಂತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ their faces, the Shantiniketan boys' faces show the story of their joy. ಅವರ ಖುಷಿ, ಜಾಯ್ನೆಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು, and then with their freedoms, ಜೊತೆಗೆ and their freedoms. ಅವರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾಗಿ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇರೋದನ್ನು ಅವರ ಮುಖದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ತೇವೆ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಫ್ರೀ ಲೈಫ್. ಒಂದು ಮಿತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಇತಿಮಿತಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅವರ ಕಲಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ದ ಲೈಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಆಟ್ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್. ಆ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್ ಶಾಲೆಯ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ಹೀಗೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ ಶಾಲೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಕೂಡ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಶಾಂತಿನಿಕೇತನ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಫೌಂಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ ರವೀಂದ್ರನಾಥ ಟಾಗೋರ್. It is a different. It is a different school of others school. So well, stay in the ashram. Safe and is well. Stay in the one day ashram. One day ashram stay ಆದಾಗ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನ ಅವರ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ರಿವೀಲ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು a lesson attending in the ashram. I think you are understood the whole lesson. If you have any doubts, anytime you call me and clarify your doubts. Tomorrow I will give you notes. Thank you, students.